Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? My name is Denanu, the man with black privilege. And in this video here, we're going to be talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp. And with this movie here, I was kind of confused as far as where Marvel was going to take it. Because Ant-Man, for those of you who don't know, Ant-Man doesn't have like a rogues gallery. Let's say like Spider-Man has like the Green Goblin, Venom, most of the bad guys in New York. Batman has most of the bad guys in Gotham. Superman has Lex Luthor. Ant-Man doesn't have like an arch nemesis, you know, so to speak. So even Yellow Jacket from part 1 wasn't a bad guy that Ant-Man had, you know, as a character. The guy was Darren Cross. I think he was in the Ant-Man comic books, but he wasn't like the Yellow Jacket and they fought, you know, that wasn't his thing. The Yellow Jacket was actually the second version, or I think the third version of the Ant-Man suit, and that was what he called himself at that time when he was going by that name. But with this one here, I didn't know who like the bad guy was gonna be and stuff like that. So when I'm watching the trailer, I'm like, okay, this is an incredibly funny trailer. They're gonna be doing a lot of CG stuff with signs changing and all of that, which looks incredibly funny. But then I seen a picture of the fucking Ghost. And I was like, oh shit. So Marvel's just reaching in the bag of B-rate supervillains. They bringing them out for other people. The Ghost was a Iron Man villain from the late 80s. And Marvel kind of always kept him in the back burner. You would see him mostly in Iron Man comic books and maybe spotted around here and there throughout their comic books. Basically because he was like a corporate espionage type guy. You know, a company would hire him. Let's say like somebody hired him. I think when he first fought Iron Man, somebody hired him to like go to kill Tony Stark and to go steal like secrets from Stark Industries. So that's the kind of character he is. Somebody goes and they hire him. He goes and either tries to kill somebody in like the business world, or he goes to steal their company's secrets so he can bring them back to whoever's paying him. That's like his thing. His powers per se is, I guess, he had some technological control, but he also, like, his biggest thing was that he can become intangible. He can phase through objects. That was like his thing. So you couldn't really hurt him, and when he wanted to phase through walls, he could just go through walls and things like that. He's fought a few people. Like, I think he's fought Iron Man. He's fought mostly Iron Man. He's fought Spider-Man, I want to say once or twice, and I want to say he may have fought somebody else. I don't recall him fighting Ant-Man though. But I kind of dropped out of reading some of the Ant-Man stuff because Ant-Man as a character is it's mostly about Hank Pym, and there's only so much you could do with that kind of character. And his biggest thing was that, oh, I built Ultron. That was like his biggest thing in the comics. So Marvel never really did a whole lot with him outside of that and between him slapping his wife. I don't think Marvel never let him live that down. But it was cool to see that they're bringing in the Ghost in this, because that tells me, at least in their other movies, that they may be doing the same thing. They're reaching in their bag of tricks and are basically pulling different characters from their universe and put them in movies that they don't normally supposed to be in, and that just makes the movies interesting for it, because that's what you see in Marvel comic books all the time. Like a certain supervillain may do something, and let's say like Spider-Man shows up, right? But what if Spider-Man doesn't show up? What if like Iron Man shows up? Granted, Iron Man doesn't handle low type stuff that Spider-Man handles, but let's say if like a corporate building gets bombed or something and Spider-Man shows up, Iron Man might show up if it's like Stark Industries or something like that. So it's cool to see the villains transfer over, because that's what normally happens in the comic books. They don't fight the same people all the time. And it's also interesting how they're picking up the story from Civil War, keeping that continuity going, from Ant-Man joining Cap to him getting locked up because of it, and then when he tried to escape, he got caught. I'm liking the fact that they're bringing in the Wasp character, Hank's daughter, in there as like his pseudo sidekick. That's completely better than the main character. And I'm assuming they're gonna have everybody else, like the one funny Hispanic guy that was in part 1. They're probably going to bring him back since everybody loved him. The fighting looks to be a whole lot better. The CG is on point. I mean, I know that's going to turn off a lot of people, but you're dealing with shit that we can't do in reality. So me, when I'm watching it as a fan, I'm like, yeah, you can't do this with real life stuff because it's just not possible. That's why it's a comic book. So I don't mind the CG so much, you know, like a lot of people get a bug up their butt about that. I'm liking that they're calling the movie Antman and the Wasp, but they're not calling it, you know, Ant-Man 2. So it's like they're giving her, you know, her due. She's gonna probably be in the movie just as much as he is. And from what I've heard, I think this was supposed to be I could have swore I heard somebody say this was supposed to be a romantic comedy. From this teaser, I'm not getting, or not teaser, from this trailer, I'm not getting that. But maybe, you know, once you see the movie, maybe it'll be filmed like a romantic comedy. I know in the story of the trailer, they're only showing so much, so you're getting it out of context. But you can pretty much see how the movie goes down. Looks like they get caught, or, you know, they get surrounded, and Scott Lang gets caught. And, you know, they basically, I guess, spring him, and then they go off and somehow try to stop the ghost, you know, from doing something. You also got Lawrence Fishburne in the movie. I don't know what his character is or who he is. I'm assuming maybe he's the scientist guy that develops how the ghost's powers work and all of that. Because I know he basically got his powers from, and I'm not going to say it was a straight accident, but somebody tried to kill him, and in the process of doing that, he got his powers based on what he was working on. In the comic books, they're probably going to explain it differently in the movie, but in the comic books, the ghost got his powers from, he was working on these computer chips that basically, when they would overheat, instead of overheating and burn out, they would kind of become intangible and kind of like shift phase. Don't ask me how that shit's supposed to work or make sense, but somehow instead of overheating, the chips would go out of phase, and then that would somehow release the heat or whatever, and then they will come back to being normal, to becoming tangible again. And I think somehow he was integrated with that when the guy tried to kill him, and that's how he got, you know, the power to become intangible. So basically, he's like a corporate espionage version of Kitty Pryde, with a little bit extra. And that's gonna make the movie kind of interesting, because I'm curious to see how Ant-Man and the Wasp are gonna fight somebody like that, you know. So that's gonna be a really big thing. I'm hoping they touch on the microverse as well, because that was something they kind of hinted at with Ant-Man 1. And I was kind of hoping with the sequel that they would shrink down to the microverse and try to find Janet Van Dyne, you know, Hank Pym's wife. I was hoping that was going to be like an ongoing story thing, because otherwise, why mention the microverse in part 1? So that was like a big thing in part 1. Outside of that, the trailer looks good, YouTube. I mean, I can't say shit. As a comic book fan, I'm like, about fucking time. The only thing I could say is the costumes aren't as bright as I would want them to be. Like the Wasp costume, like it's more like a dark gold than like a bright yellow. But I'm guessing maybe they're trying to keep that whole vein, because I know all of the Marvel movies, it's like for whatever reason, comic book movies don't want to make super bright costumes. I don't know if that's because of CG or if they have a film reason for that, but Marvel tends to go with a lot of the muted colors with their costume choices and you know, and everything. So that's the only real negative I could see behind the Wasp character. Everything else, I mean, it looks fine. It looks perfect. I know this movie's been getting a lot of flack for the Hello Kitty Pez scene at the end of the trailer. I thought that was hilarious, but I guess some people just want to be dicks. I don't know. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys thought of the trailer. My name is Dananu, the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.